Hey, Erev Tov, good evening, everyone. Tonight we are going to learn some business ethics. Okay, you've come to a business ethics class. We're going to speak about when someone is working, and they want to pray, they want to say Shema, they want to do tefillah, they want to say bracha, they want to do birkat hamazon, they want to pray mincha. When someone is working, how to balance that, right? And so there's going to be some very important lessons that hopefully we can extract from the Gemara to talk about contemporary challenges, contemporary issues, whether you work for someone or you work for yourself, important concepts. Hopefully, Bezrat Hashem will cover them to try to make this Gemara number one enjoyable as we learn the flow, but also to make it personal. So let's go. Last time we did a Mishnah. It's a new Mishnah on Daf Toz, Daf Tet Zayin, and there's like a Zichru. Zichru is this program where they try to help you to remember things, and the sign of the daf is toes. So that's how I'm gonna start remembering it as toes. So daf Tet Zayin, we have a Mishnah. There's three parts to the Mishnah, and then we're gonna start the Gemara of the first part tonight, perhaps even the second part. So let's review the Mishnah and move forward. Three parts to the Mishnah. Share screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, part number one. Matnitin, the Mishnah and Daf Tet Zayin Amud Aleph. If you're looking at the article, we already did this. We're going back. It's 16A2. The top of the page, 16A2. Mishnah says as following: Ha'umanin, workers, laborers, people who are craftsmen, and people who are working on trees or on walls or construction workers. Korin Berosha Ilan Urosha Nidbach. They are allowed to read the Shema Yisrael when they are on top of a tree or on top of a wall. What does it mean on top of a wall? The guy is on top of scaffolding. He's a construction worker. He's up there and it's shaky. It's not so safe. Imagine he's building a skyscraper. He's up there a couple hundred feet in the air, whatever it is. Someone was on a tree, dangling off the tree. You're allowed to say Shema Yisrael, but we're not allowed to do that for tefillah. As we explained last time, there's really two reasons for this discrepancy. One is Shema is much shorter. Quantitatively, it's one line you really have to have kavanah for, whereas Amidah is much longer. And the other is Shema, all you have to know is what you're saying. If you know what you're saying, you're doing the Shema. Tefillah is different because you need to concentrate, not just on what you're saying, but you need to concentrate, clear your thoughts, prepare your mind to stand in front of God, speak in front of Hashem, ask for forgiveness, ask for your request. There's a lot more mental power that goes into Amidah than for the Shema Yisrael. Okay, so that's the first thing. If you're a worker or you're on a tree, you're on a wall, are you allowed to say Shema? The answer is yes. Are you allowed to say Amidah? The answer is no. Okay, so that's the first rule. There's a difference between Shema and Amidah for workers on trees or on top of a wall. Next line of the Mishnah, which again we did, Chatan patur mikriyat Shema. Laila Harishona, a Chatan, an Ochzama, guy's getting married, on his wedding night, he is not obligated to say Shema for that first night, V'ad Motzei Shabbat, all the way through until Motzei Shabbat. The assumption is that he's getting married on Wednesday night. This is how they used to get married. And the Masechet Ketubot Mishnah tells us that you get married on Wednesday nights. Now, I think most weddings are Thursday night or Sunday night. You get some Tuesday nights also, Kitov Pa'amayim. It says the word kitov on Tuesdays twice, so you have weddings on Tuesdays, Wednesdays also, the middle of the night. Baruch Hashem, Bezrat Hashem, the calendar should be so full that we're, we have a wedding every single night. Mondays, I think there's an issue because hair salons are closed. If I'm not mistaken, Mondays are probably the least, but they used to get married on Wednesday nights. So what it's saying is, so starting from Wednesday night, the Chatan does not need to say Shema. Why? Because his mind is preoccupied thinking about the mitzvah of Biyah Rishonah, being with his wife for the first time. We spoke about this last week, how there's two potential concerns. Either the concern is it's his first time, it's her first time. He doesn't know how things are going to go. He's not sure if he'll be able to consummate the marriage properly or not. He's not sure what's going on, so that preoccupies him. And since he's thinking about that, he won't say he's exempt from saying Shema. Or another idea is, perhaps it's not that he doesn't, there's a performance anxiety, but instead, perhaps he's going to find out that she, in fact, was with another man beforehand, and that would then, being dishonest, and then he would have to figure, then decide what to do. So it's like, all right, I'm going to find out tonight something that could end up derailing the entire marriage, finding out there's dishonesty. These things used to happen, I guess. And so that's another concern. So based on that, there's a different discussions about whether he's patur from saying Shema in the morning also. But regardless, the Khatan is patur Wednesday night through Saturday night. What happens if they successfully were able to consummate the marriage on Wednesday night? Then he's no longer patur. That's why it says imlo asama asa if he did not perform the act. Once Rabban Gamliel, who was the Nasi, the president of the Sanhedrin, Shinasa Isha, he was getting married. Vikara Laila Rishona, and on that night he said Shema. So they're all at the wedding, they're all at the chuppah, and he's saying Shema. So the students say to him, Limatanu Rabbeinu, you rabbi, you taught us, Shechatan Patur Mikriyat Shema. Chatan is exempt from saying Shema. You don't need to say Shema. Amar lahem. So he says to them, Eni shomea lachem. I'm not going to listen to you. Levatel heimeni malchut shamayim sorry, how do they translate it? To preclude myself from accepting the heaven, from malchut shamayim, from the kingdom of heaven. Afilu sha'ah echat. I am not going to, even for one moment, hold myself back from accepting Hashem as my God. Hey, what do you want from me? You guys are telling me I'm patur, okay, I'm patur, but I'm not gonna not say Shema. I want to say Shema. This is accepting Hashem, and it's something that for him he felt that it's something that he could do, and it's something that he wanted to do, so he was allowed to. Chatan doesn't need to, but if he wants to, okay, so go ahead. That's what we said there. Wait, did I say 3 parts of the Mishnah? I meant 2 parts of the Mishnah. I said 3? Okay, there's really 2 parts, right? Yeah, I was thinking about a 3rd thing, the Gemara later. So there's really 2 parts of the Mishnah. Part number 1 is a uman, a worker, is allowed to say Shema on top of a tree or a wall, but not the tefillah. And the second thing is the Chatan is patur on the night of his wedding through Saturday night if he did not consummate the marriage. That's the second thing. Related to that second thing is a story. The story is with Rabban Gamliel, where it was the night of his wedding, and he decided to say Shema. Anyway, the student said, but you don't have to. He says, I know I don't have to, but I'm not going to listen to you not to do Shema. I want to do Shema, which teaches you that you can if you want to. Okay? Nowadays, practically speaking, the Chatan, we usually say Arvit. We usually try to do Arvit before the chuppah, because the assumption is not that he's not going to be able to focus, but because the guy's going to be busy from after this, run over there, then go eat over here, then go dancing, and then more dancing, and then more people. So practically speaking, it's best to get Shema out of the way, but still the Chatan is chayav to, practically speaking nowadays, the Chatan says Shema. Yes?
That means you shouldn't do it if you wanted to?
Okay, excellent question. Your question is, if you're patur, generally speaking, if you're patur from a mitzvah, does that mean that you should refrain from doing it? The answer is pros and cons. If by doing it, you're going to end up hurting something, then you shouldn't. I'll give you an example. We have a rule that we're going to review later tonight or next time. It's a rule that we learned on Daf Yud Aleph that says, Osek b'mitzvah, patur min mitzvah. You're involved with one mitzvah, you don't need to do the other one. Okay? You're helping an old lady across the street, and then all of a sudden, you see another person on the other street that asks you for help. So, osek b'mitzvah, patur min mitzvah. I'm involved with one, and I'm going to do the other. Is it appropriate for me to drop the lady in the middle of the street and to go say, I want to choose to do the other mitzvah? Is that appropriate? No, it's not. In that case, patur is telling you it's gone. You shouldn't be doing the other mitzvah at all. But in this case, that's why we have this story. This is the way Tosot explains that this story is brought to teach us that in this case, there's no issue with doing it if you so decide. In general, you have to ask, what's the downfall of me doing it? You tell me I'm patur, fine. What's the downfall? So there could be, in certain situations, downfall. If there is, then maybe you shouldn't do it. Okay? More, we speak about specific cases, but more generally, that's an answer. Okay. Yes. Then we're going to learn it later that akoneset almana chayav. If a man is marrying a non-virgin, then he is not going to be preoccupied with either of those things. The first preoccupation, so you see, it's not exactly performance anxiety, like, oh, it's my first time. It's not about the man's first time. It's more about if it's the woman is a virgin and there's going to be something unique about this act as opposed to other times having the act. And so if she's already been with a man before, there's no concern of me finding out that she was lying to me because the man already knows that she was with someone else. So you're not going to wake up tomorrow morning and feel like you were lied to. That's one. Or two, it seems like maybe she knows she could guide him, or there isn't the concern, there isn't the challenge of the first time there being things a little bit different. Okay, whatever. This isn't your Khatan classes, but Ezra Hashem, very soon you'll have your Khatan classes. But yeah, that answers your question. Yes, that's correct. It only applies by virgin. Yes, question.
Is it the Mishnah is like almost leaving out Chayavim is it something that they're allowed to read or they can read it if they want? Like the Shema Esrei, don't read it because that's too dangerous. The Shema, you can read it not Chayavim.
Okay. So this to your question. Okay, now you're applying the question to the first stage of the Mishnah, first case of the Mishnah. So, okay, excellent question. It says that Umanin can read the Shema, Korin, Berosha Ilan, and Rosh Nidbach. They can read on top of a wall. So now, Igal's question is, do they have to? Can they come down if they want to, or they have to say Shema up there? Well, let's think about it. What would be the drawback of me saying I'm going to go down? Okay, so you're coming up with a halachic scenario where we're talking about it's the last moment and the time is about to pass. So in that last moment, I'm up here. Can I say it? No, yes, you could say it, right? Because you're in the last moment. It's like what you're constructing the case. But then that would mean that if it's in the last moment of Shacharit, you can't say it up there. So you missed out, right? But maybe there's something else. What would another option be? What would be the drawback of coming down? Yeah?
I feel like day laborers, kind of people that are working on walls and trees are being paid for their time. So if you're not going to come down to make your whole like production of Shema, you're taking away from your employer's time, you're stealing time from your employer.
Excellent, very good. And this is Andy. I'm not sure if you were here when I said it. Tonight's shiur is a business ethics class because this is exactly correct. Here's the drawback. The drawback is you're up there. You could say Shema. You're allowed to. But you say, no, I want to come down and I want to put on my gartel. I want to wear my shtreimel. I want to go to the mikveh. You're getting paid for your time. You're a hired worker. Right now is not the time for you to be able to do these things. If you were your own boss, then go to the mikveh 101 times and wear everything that you want, wear multiple hats, and then do whatever, go down somewhere, go to the Bet Knesset, go to the kever of someone and pray, whatever you want to do. You're on your own time. But you're on someone else's time right now. You're a paid worker from this. So then that's why the Mishnah says, Korin, that's where you have to do it. You have to say Shema up there because you don't have the right to extend your Shema more than what's required. So it's a very important rule that we're going to elaborate on the rest of the Mishnah. So you see the distinction here is going to be whether you're a hired worker or you work for yourself. If you work for yourself, you shouldn't say it up there either. You should come down. But if you're getting paid, there's no clocking in, clocking out, because then you could say, well, it's my time that I'm taking. No, you're getting paid for your day. So your day, you have to work. So you could say Shema, but take 5 seconds to say Shema from where you are. Don't come down all of a sudden. Okay? So we're gonna expand on this. Excellent question and nice discussion on the topic. Okay, let's keep going. Ready? Business ethics. Here we go. The Mishnah, the Gemara now quotes a Braita. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita. So we have our Mishnah that talks about the Umanin, and now we're going to have a Braita that talks about Umanin. Let's see what the Braita adds. Ha-Umanin korin berosha ilan uvrosha nidbach. Skilled workers, hired workers are allowed to read Shema on a tree or on a wall. Or they should read Shema on a tree or a wall. So far, it's exactly what our Mishnah said. Umitpalelin, our Mishnah said they are not allowed to pray up there. The Braita says they're allowed to pray if birosh hazait uvrosh hate'ena. If it's an olive tree or it's a fig tree, these are big, sturdy trees that you can even pray up there. Ush'ar kol ha'ilanot, but any other type of tree, yordin lemata umitpalalin. You have to come down. So what we said in our Mishnah is, the workers are allowed to say Shema on a wall or in a tree, but they're not allowed to pray. They have to come down to pray. The Berachot says the same thing. It just gives us an in-between case. It says, you're allowed to say Shema up on the tree, but for a tefillah, you have to come down, unless it's an olive tree or a fig tree. Because olive trees and fig trees, there's a lot of branches. It's very sturdy. You're up there. You can go ahead and pray. Now here, I want to show you a footnote, because this footnote is going to touch on two topics, the two items we just spoke about. Where's this footnote that talks about olives and figs?
Number 20.
Number 20. Thank you. If they're working on these trees, meaning the olive or the fig tree, they may remain there and pray. Since an olive tree and a fig tree have many branches, a person is able to stand there comfortably and without fear of falling. Hence, he is able to maintain proper concentration for his prayer. That's Rashi. Alternatively, okay, now look, pay close attention to this. The presence of many branches makes it difficult to climb down from the trees. Were the workers required to do so, they would be taking undue time away from their jobs. Hence, they should pray in the tree. You see, this flips the answer, flips it. It like flips the switch. What it says is, any other tree, you're permitted to come down. Because you could just jump down, you just come straight down and you pray. But an olive tree or a fig tree, the coming down process and the going back up process is going to add 15 minutes. So it's not that you'll be able to focus more up there. You'll be able to focus more down on when you come down. But it's not fair for you to have to go through all that process. This reminds me, maybe it was like 2 years ago or so. We were cutting some trees down. And you know, if you ever, we had like a couple of trees we wanted to cut. And if you go through that process, you see usually there's one guy is the cutter. You know, there's like a whole team. There's like 4 of them. One guy goes up there on the top. That guy is the one cutting. But he goes up there, he takes a rope, he ties it, then he cuts it. And then the guys down there are like directing it so it doesn't like smash into things. It doesn't hit the wires. You go up there, you cut this tree, they take ropes around it, and then they pull it to make it fall into certain directions. And then you have a team down there that now takes it and goes and puts it in the shredder. So you have one guy up there cutting, and then you have a team of 3-4 guys there who are like below him and helping out. Now that guy up there, he has to wait for the people down there to be ready. So I remember when we were watching the guy, and at one point, the guys down there were struggling. So he just sat down. The guy who was up there with his like thing, he's up maybe 150 feet in the air. You watch him, and at one point he just like sat on the tree. And I'm just thinking that guy's very comfortable, 150 feet in the air, like he might just fall, but he was comfortable. He was waiting. So in that moment, I thought of this, like, look, you know, like he's comfortable. He's comfortable enough to like go ahead and sit there. So you could imagine if there's a tree that there's enough branches. In a comfortable way, he could go ahead and say Shema.
I googled olive tree. It's massive. Like the bark is like huge.
It's like very. What does it look like?
Like olive tree.
Olive tree.
Google.
You Googled olive tree. Oh, this looks
Images.
very flimsy. Let me share a screen. This is live, okay? This is not planned. This thing right here is smaller than my foot. There's no way I could stand on that thing. But this one, oh, look at this one. Wow, this looks like a chia thing. Yeah, okay, imagine like right there in the middle. I would not be comfortable in that. I don't know. There's probably different types of olive trees also. But yeah, but which one did you see, Tomer? That made you feel like this? Wow, look at this thing. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, like right there, you stand right there, you're very comfortable. Yeah, you're not falling at all. Your head might be hitting the branches, but assuming your head is fine, right there. Wow, look at that. This thing's a treehouse. You could sit there, you could read a novel. So you have nothing, of course you could pray on me down there. Okay, very good. So this is the idea. I would imagine to come off this thing is very easy. You just jump off. Because you could see the guys, it's not that high. It's probably maybe 5 feet high. But imagine something's a little bit higher. Okay, very good. All right, let's go back to the Gemara. Here we go. Uba'al habayit, what if you're the owner of the house? Meaning, you're the boss. You're not a paid worker, but you own the shop. You own the farm, you own the orchard. Okay? Ben kach u ben kach, doesn't matter what type of tree it is, whether it's this type of tree or it's that type of tree, yored lemata mitpalel, you have to go down. Aha. So you see that if you're the owner, you're not allowed to pray up there. If you're a paid worker, you're allowed to be up there if it's a very sturdy tree, like an olive tree or a fig tree. But if it's not, you have to come down. Whereas the owner, no matter what, even if it's sturdy, you have to come down. Why? Here it's explaining to you why. Because you're unable to focus properly when you're up there. There's a spectrum here. Okay? There's a spectrum. There is flimsy trees where you cannot focus. You cannot focus up there. So you have to come down. Even if you're a paid hired worker, you have to come down. Your boss has to give you a break. The same way he has to give you a bathroom break, he gives you a water break, he gives you a tefillah break. He has to give it to you. So a very flimsy tree. Then the next thing is, okay, sturdy tree, like an olive tree or a fig tree. So, but there's you could focus there, but not fully. So what we're gonna say is, if you are a hired worker, you're the laborer that someone else is paying you for your time. We don't want you to steal. So we're gonna say, you stay up there and pray. Your focus is not going to be perfect, but that's your circumstance. Pray up there. But if you're the owner, then we're going to say, come down. Because we know that you'll be more focused when you're praying from leveled ground. And you don't have the same excuse of, someone else is paying you. If you're the owner, you have to be able to take the bite. So this is something that's very important to keep in mind. Someone might say, what do you mean? The same way how that guy is going to lose out, I'm going to lose out. I'm the owner. I'm up here on the tree. I'm pulling the things down myself. I'm hustling and working my tail off the same way. So the same way that guy is going to lose, I'm going to lose. No, because you're the owner and you're not getting paid by the minute. So it's not like the more you pick, the more you get. That's not how it works. See, in the situation of the guy's a paid worker, if he doesn't work while he's getting paid to work, he's stealing. But you're the owner. Take a minute to pray. Take 5 minutes to pray to Hashem. That's going to be the requirement. Okay, so that's like the spectrum of different requirements when someone is on the tree. Okay, here we go. Next thing of the Mishnah, of the Gemara. Interesting story. Ramile Rav Mari. Okay, so Ramile means he brings a contradiction. There's a contradiction between our Mishnah and another Mishnah. Okay, and now let's just see who is the author, who is the opinion that's bringing this contradiction. There's just like an interesting story here. Rav Mari, the name of the rabbi is Rav Mari, Bera de Bat Shemuel. He is the son of the daughter of Shemuel. And he asked this question to Rava. So the Rashi here and the commentators asked the question of, hold on a second, it's Mari, the son of the daughter of Shemuel. Why don't we say his dad's name? The answer is, unfortunately, Shmuel's daughter, her name was Rachel. Shmuel's daughter was kidnapped, was taken hostage, and in captivity was raped and became pregnant from a non-Jew. Now it happens to be later on this person converted. His name was Isur. His name was Isur Giura, and there's a story about him converting. But when Isur violated Rachel bat Shmuel, when Isur violated her and she became pregnant, is the child Jewish? The child is Jewish because it goes by the mother. The mother is Jewish, the child is Jewish. But we're not going to say you're not going to say him, the son of his father, because his father at the time was not a Jew. If the father would have converted before he was with the mother, then it's fine. You would say Ben Isur, but say the name of the father. But in this situation, so it's just very interesting that it says Rav Mari Bera, it's the son of the Bat Shmuel, the daughter of Shmuel, just sharing that story. Sometimes it says Rachel. Okay, good?
That means for bringing Raita to contradict the Mishnah.
Correct, but not exactly. So the Rami Resh Mem Yud Ureminhu is these are the contradictions. What happens is as follows: whenever you have Resh Mem Yud, that type of word, it's taking two statements from Tanaim which means one of them is a Mishnah, one of them is a Braita, or another one is a Braita. Taking two statements from Tanaim and saying there's a contradiction. Now, very simply, you could say machloket. But often, if I have a Mishnah that teaches me a rule, this Mishnah that we learned tonight, did anyone argue with it? There's no machloket. It says, here's the rule. The guy is up on the wall, say Shema, but don't say Tefillah. No one's arguing. Now I have a Braita that says something else. So you could say, okay, that Braita that says something else is going to argue, but you try to say, well, maybe not. Maybe it's teaching you two aspects of the same law. So this, when you bring one statement to go against another statement of Tanaim, that's called a Rami. So this is what, and the Rami was who raised this contradiction? Rav Mari, and he brought this contradiction and he told it to Rava. Okay, so that's the flow of this. Let's go ahead and see it. It's not letting me share my screen anymore. Here. So Rami le Rav Mari bered Rav Barad bat Shmuel le Rava. So Rav Mari told Rava the following: Tanan, there's another Mishnah that says, "Ha'umanim korim berosh Eilan u'rosh nidbach." It says, sorry, there's one Mishnah, our Mishnah, that says that Umanin are allowed to say Shema on top of the tree. So if you're on top of the tree, can you say Shema? The answer is yes. Ama lo ba'e kavana. So it seems like you don't need to have kavana. If I tell you, you could say Shema while you're working, you're picking your figs, you're picking your olives, you're picking your bananas, whatever you're picking, I would say, okay, just say Shema up there. So what does that sound like, Rav Mari says? Sounds like you don't need to have kavanah. The guy's in the middle of his job. He's up on his tree. The guy is on a wall, like with a staple gun, putting a wall, putting wood into a wall. And he's saying, just say Shema from on top of the wall. Okay, so it sounds like you don't need to have kavanah or a mini, but that's a contradiction. Why? Because you have another braita that says, Hakorayet Shema, when you read Shema, Sarich Shiach Chavenet Libo. You need to have kavanah, you need to focus, you need to get rid of all other distractions, I need to focus on what you're saying, Shneimar, as it says, Shema Yisrael, it says, listen, O Israel, Ulanan Hu Omer, and elsewhere. Berachot Ekev, it says, Hasket Ushma Yisrael, it says the words, pay attention and listen, Israel, which means, when you say Shema Yisrael, you're connecting it to another time it says Shema Yisrael. In Berachot Ekev, it says, Hasket, pay attention. When you say our Shema Yisrael of the mitzvah of Shema, it's connected, so you need to pay attention. So the Braita says, "Man lehalan behasket, afkan behasket." Just as over there, you need to pay attention. So too here, when you say Shema, you have to pay attention. So Rav Mari says, "I have a question for you, Rava. You're telling me, or this Mishnah is telling me, that you could say Shema when you're on top of the tree or you're on top of a wall. Sounds like you don't need to focus. Are you guys focused from on top of the tree? He's not focused. He's working. So, but you told me you have to have kavanah. How does that work together?" Ishtik. Rava was silent. Rava said, strong question. I don't have an answer for you. I might say, okay, no, I don't have an answer. But then he does something, and this is I use this very often. This following line of what Rava did, I pull this out of my back pocket. I don't tell people I do it, except for now. So you get VIP access into what I do. But look what he says. Amrele, so then he says, what, did you hear something about this? Sometimes when someone asks you a question, they're asking you that question because they already heard an answer, or they already have an answer in mind. They're already thinking about something. So sometimes someone comes on the parsha and asks me some question, and it's sort of like, I have no idea what he's saying in his question. He's just like, I'm like, why you have an answer? Hey, what did you hear? The guy just wants to talk. Okay, so I'm not saying that's what happened here, but this was what Rava asked. Rava said, "What do you have an answer? You're asking this great question. Do you have an answer?" And guess what? He did. Amarle, he says, "Hachi Amar Rav Sheshat." He says, "Yeah, I heard an answer from Rav Sheshat. V'hu shebetelin mimlachtan v'korin." Rav Sheshat qualifies our Mishnah and says, when we allow the worker to say Shema from on top of the tree, he has to stop working for that moment. It sounds intuitive, but the Mishnah doesn't say it. The Mishnah says workers can say Shema from on top of the wall or from on top of the tree. Rav Sheshat says they have to stop. They have to stop working. He's not picking his figs as he's saying the Shema. You're allowed to stay up there. Stop picking your figs, Rav Sheshat says. Say the Shema while you're focused, and then you continue picking your figs. So this is how Rav Mari solves the issue, right? what the Mishnah tells, the Braita tells us, when you say Shema, you have to focus. But it also says you could do it from on top of the tree. Well, I'm clearly not focusing while I'm working. So it's a good question. What's the answer? Rav Sheshet says, you have to stop working. You could be up on the tree, just stop working for that moment, which isn't that difficult. Let's say someone, this also happens, let's say someone is driving. He's driving the car, and he wants to say Shema Yisrael. Really what you should do is pull over to the side. But let's say you can't. Okay, the very least, wait until you get to a stop sign to close your eyes, say Shema. You shouldn't be driving while you're doing it. You shouldn't be doing something else. Why? Hasket. You have to pay attention. You have to focus. Okay? Very good. Vatanya. But hold on a second. Someone said this last week. Says, okay, so let's clarify this. You're telling me that the guy who's on top of the tree, that I allow him to say Shema, he can't actively be working. He has to stop. I have a problem with that. You know what the problem is? Bet Hillel omrim oskin b'mlachtan v'korin. In another context, Bet Hillel told us that when someone is saying Shema, they're allowed to say Shema while they're working. Anyone remember what context that was? Bet Hillel, as opposed to Bet Shammai. Very good. Okay. So what happened is, you're traveling on the road. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Very good. That's the topic with Rabbi Tarfon. So what happened is, there's a machloka between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel about the positioning of that you have to be in when you're saying the Shema Yisrael. The positionings, and this is on the Mishnah is on the bottom of Daf Yud, I believe. And it goes into the Gemara on Daf Yud Aleph, if I'm not mistaken. It's on Daf Yud on the very end. Bet Shammai says, "B'shochbecha, you have to lie down. So in the evening you have to lie down. Kumecha, you have to stand up. In the morning you have to stand up." Bet Hillel says, "No, Kol Adam holech kedarko. You can read whatever position you want. Why? Because it says uvlechtecha v'derech, going on the way. As he says, oskin v'mlachtan v'korin. You could even be working while you're saying the Shema. The position doesn't matter. You don't say at the night you have to be lying down. In the morning you have to stand up. You could even be working while you're saying it. Wow. Okay. So based on that discussion, we're going to take that statement where Bet Hillel tells us that you can even be working when you say Shema, and says, okay. Let's go back to Rav Mari's contradiction. Rav Mari brought a contradiction that says, on one hand, you tell me that you have to focus when you say Shema. On the other hand, our Mishnah says the guy who is picking up figs is allowed to say Shema from on top of the tree. So he's picking figs, saying Shema. How's he focus? He's in the middle of thinking about picking figs. So Rav Sheshet says, okay, stop picking the figs for 5 seconds. You have to stop working. Okay. But Bet Hillel says you could continue working. That's what Bet Hillel says. Osim v'lachtan v'korin. You could continue working. So now you have this issue. So what does the Gemara answer? Lakashya. It's not a question. Ha b'perek rishon. Ha b'perek sheni. It depends on which portion of the Shema you're saying. If you're saying the first portion where you need to have kavanah, which, according to Rashi, according to Rava, is only the first line. So for that, you have to stop working. But the rest of Shema, you're allowed to osin b'mlachtan. That's what Bet Hillel is referring to. When Bet Hillel says that you're allowed to say Shema as you're doing your work, not the first line, or not that first portion that you need to have kavanah. Remember, there's machloket. There's a 4-way machloket of how much you need to have kavanah. One opinion says the first line. Another one says the first half of ve'ahavta. The next opinion says all of ve'ahavta. The next one says all of ve'ahavta and ve'haya. All of that you need to have kavanah for. Okay, but what this is saying is the first portion where you need to have kavanah, you have to stop working. And then the rest of it, that's what Bet Hillel is referring to, where he says, Osim v'mlachtan v'korin. You're allowed to go ahead and continue doing your work, picking your figs, banging in the wood into the wall. You're allowed to continue doing your work while you're saying Shema. Okay? Nowadays, if a person is in a situation, you know what? I don't want to talk about nowadays yet. I want to finish this next thing, and then we'll talk about nowadays. Okay? Talk about the business ethics. Keep going. Tana Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita. Similar idea to the business ethics. Okay, here we go. Hapo'alim, workers. Shahayu osin melacha etzel balabayit. You have workers that are working next to the owner, next to the boss. So you can imagine the boss is there in the corner office, everyone else is working, and he sees them, and he wants them to be working. Korin Kriyat Shema, they could say Shema, they could also make a bracha before and after. Meaning food. So the guy is eating at his desk. Okay, the boss is there. One of the workers is sitting and eating at his desk. He's like, come on, you gotta get going. Yeah, I want you to working. This is the terrible work culture. If you have the opportunity to switch jobs, I would switch jobs. But this work culture, what it's saying is, you know what? Okay, you get your moment to say Shema, Korin Kriyat Shema, you're allowed to say a bracha before you eat, which means there's a thought to say that you can't even say a bracha before you eat. But no, it's okay. Take your 5 seconds, your 3 seconds to say Shakol Yamidoro. And even afterwards, you want to say Birkat Hamazon, 3 minutes, go ahead, take it. The Ochlin Pitan, they could, oh, I'm so sorry. I jumped the gun a little bit. Okay, let me just do this again. Korin Kriyat Shema, you read Shema, you say the brachot before Shema and after Shema. Okay, sorry. I just was reading the next line already. You could say that with the Berachot Kriyat Shema before and after. The Ochlin Pitan, they could go ahead and eat their food. With the bracha before, they could see Netilat Yadayim, Hamotzi, Birkat Hamazon, all of that's allowed. Umitpalelin Tefilat Shemona Esrei, and they also pray Amidah. So these are things that if you're a worker and you're hired and there's a boss there, you're allowed to say Shema with the brachot, with the Amidah, and you're allowed to say bracha before you eat and after you eat. Okay? Aval, but en yordin lifnei hateva, you cannot be chazan, ve'en nosin kapehen, and you cannot do Birkat Kohanim. If you're a Kohen, Kodi, you're a Kohen. Okay? You would not be allowed to do Birkat Kohanim. So as I was thinking about this, so why? So Rashi, let's look at Rashi, because Rashi says something. We're saying if you want to go pray, go pray. You want to say Shema, say Shema. You want to do Tefillah, do Amidah. But don't be Chazan. Don't offer to be a Chazan. Why not? Anyone have any thoughts? Why can't I be Chazan?
Stay till the very end.
Ah, you see from here, no one stays till the very end, except for the Chazan. It's pretty clear. So look what Rashi says. Aval en yordin lifnei hateva, but you should not be chazan. Enan risha'im libatel mimlachtan. You're not allowed to leave your work v'leired lifnei hateva and go be the chazan la'asot shaliach sibur, to be the shaliach sibur. Sheyesh sham bitul melacha yoter midai, because you're taking too much time. You want to take time to go pray, go take time to pray, but to be chazan is going to take more time. So you see that, yeah, it seems like maybe not everyone would stay until Aleinu Shabeach. Some people, after take off your tefillin and run, but to be the chazan, you got to be there until the end. That's too much. What about Birkat Kohanim? I don't understand why, but it seems like doing Birkat Kohanim takes extra time. You see, maybe we're saying don't even stay for Chazara. Maybe we're saying say Shema, pray Amidah, and then go. Don't even stay for Chazara. Because if you're going to stay for Chazara anyway, why is it not? But if you're a Kohen, don't do Birkat Kohanim. Go. Don't stay for long. Maybe tying your shoes, taking too long. I don't know. Yeah?
Success, but didn't we learn like a few pages ago that the first thing you do when you wake up is pray and say Shema and do all your stuff? Now we're talking about leaving work to go.
Yeah. Okay. So very good. So you're saying, well, we spoke about the importance of tefillah being the first thing you do in the morning. We spoke about this. The person should not get involved with personal affairs. Okay? Yes. But now we're talking about a circumstance where someone is a hired worker. Like, this is what you have to do. It's not like you want to be religious and do the right thing, fine, but not on someone else's dime. Because the guy is paying you to work. So this should be the first thing you do in the morning, yes. But I'm paying you to do something else. So the halacha is saying even though you're getting paid to work 60 minutes an hour, you're allowed to take 15 minutes. I guess, to say Shema before and after with tefillah, how long is that going to take? 15 minutes. You're allowed to take that. Maybe you need to do some other things, 20 minutes. But you cannot be there for 45 minutes, is what it's telling you. You shouldn't be there for the whole thing. You shouldn't be chazan. You shouldn't be doing kohanim. Okay? Good. Fine. Same with Birkat Hamazon. Okay? Ochlin pitan v'barachin lefanei v'lacharei could say bracha before and after. V'hatanya, but hold on a second. I have an issue. I have a braita that talks about the same exact case. Workers. Now it says, when they come time to pray, don't pray the Amidah. Don't pray the entire Shemona Esrei. Instead, me'en Shemona Esrei. You have to pray something that's similar to the Shemona Esrei. There's something that's called, has anyone ever heard of this? It's called Havinenu. It's an abridged version of the Amidah. Let's say the Amidah is 20 pages, Havinenu is 5 pages. We're actually going to learn the text of it later on. Later on, it spells out the entire text for us. It's Machloket Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua. I believe it's on daf, what daf? Kaftet. They should probably footnote it right over here. About Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua. Chavchet. What did I say? I said that?
No, it says 510.
28.
It's 29.
You're right.
I mean, it could be like goes from one to the other. Okay, whatever it is, it's around there. Yeah, we're not there yet. It's ahead of us. Okay, it's ahead of us. So, Braita, the first Braita that we're talking about says, okay, you're a worker, your boss is there. Here's what I'm allowing you to do: Shema, Berachot before and after. When you eat food, Berachot before and after, and the full Amidah. Oh. But I have another Braita that says you can't pray the whole Amidah. It says you have to pray Havinenu, the abridged version. So what is it? Amar Rav Sheshat says Lo Kasha. Okay, there's no issue. Both are correct. Har Rabban Gamliel, Har Rabbi Yeshua. There's two opinions. One is Rabban Gamliel, one is Rabbi Yeshua. Now here, okay, now I need to know where is this Mishnah? It's on Kaftet, on 29. So there's a Mishnah on Daf Kaftet that says there's a discussion between Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabban Gamliel says normally every day you have to pray the full Amidah. Rabbi Yeshua says, no, not like that. Rabbi Yeshua says it's okay if you pray the short Havinenu every day. If someone decides they want to do the Havinenu, do the Me'en Shemona Esrei, the shorter abridged version, any day he's allowed to. Okay? Not as a worker. Anyone. If you, whatever it is, ADD, it's too much for me. I can't. All right, no problem. Whatever you want, you could do Havinenu. This is Rabbi Yeshua. Rabban Gamliel says, no, look, this is the Amidah. You have to pray the Amidah. Rabbi Yeshua says, I have no issue with doing the shortened version. So Rabbi Yeshua is saying the Chatchila. Go ahead and do it. That's exactly it. You know what? Okay, we have to see the Gemara. I want to see it because when you have questions, Jared, you were right. Honestly, I'm going to be honest. I don't even know what I said. And I asked you what I said. I wasn't challenging you. What did I say? I'm going to watch back there. I have no idea what I said. I said Chavchet or Chavtet. I said Chavtet. So I was wrong. It's okay. I learned. The Havinenu is on Chavtet. All right. I don't even know what's going on anymore. Let me show you the Mishnah. No, it's not here. Where? Chavchet Amud Bet on the bottom. I looked at it earlier today. So here's the Mishnah on Chavchet Amud Bet. We'll look at this very quickly. Rabban Gamliel Omer. Look, this is Igal to address your questions. B'chol yom bayom, every day, mitpalel adam shemona Esrei. Every day you pray Amidah, 18 brachot. It's actually 19. There's actually an additional bracha. The fact that was like an amendment. There's an additional bracha. We're going to learn about that amendment later on. But it's called the 18 because there's 18 brachot. Rabbi Yeshua says, no, you could do the abridged one that's like 18 that just hits the bullet points. And what is this referring to? This is referring to B'chol Yom Vayom, every day. Rabbi Gamliel says every day you have to do the full thing. Rabbi Yeshua says you don't have to. You could do the abridged version. Rabbi Akiva Omer, Im Shegura Tefilado B'fiv. It says, if you know it well, if you're fluent in the tefillah, mitpalel shemona esrei, then you have to pray the full Amidah. Ve'im lav, but if you don't know the whole Amidah, me'en shemona esrei, so do the shorter version, which means if someone doesn't know it, so they could say the shorter version. But if you know it, you have to say the longer one. So maybe Rabbi Akiva is saying this the chatchila b'di'evet, like what you're saying, but Rabban Gamliel is saying even b'di'evet, you have to do this, and Rabbi Yeshua is saying even the chatchila, you could do the shorter version of it. Okay, good. Let's go back to our case. Our case, talking about workers, it says, the first one says, pray the Amidah. That's what the first Braita says, pray the Amidah. The next Braita says, no, don't pray the Amidah, pray the shortened one. So Rav Sheshat says, very simple. The first one is Rabban Gamliel, who says, pray the Amidah. The second one is Rabbi Yeshua, who says you could pray Avinenu. But the Gemara is going to ask, Rabbi Yeshua, but if you're going to tell me this Braita is talking about Rabbi Yeshua, my area po'alim, then why do you have to talk about workers? Afilu kol adam nami. Any person can read the shortened one. If you're a worker, you could say Shema with the brachot before, and if after, or pray the shortened Amidah. Why? Because you're a worker. Hold on a second. That's Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says anyone can do the shortened version. We just saw the Mishnah. Anyone can. So it's not just workers. Rabbi Yeshua is very lenient with his Sidur. Think about it this way. Rabban Gamliel's Sidur is this big. Rabbi Yeshua's Sidur is this big. So now you have one Braita that says workers, say the long one. Then the other one says workers, say the short one. You say, this is Rabban Gamliel, this is Rabbi Yeshua. But Rabbi Yeshua's Sidur is not for workers. Rabbi Yeshua's Sidur is for everyone. So what is the answer? So Rabbi Yeshua, my area poalim. Why do you have to talk about specifically workers? Afilu kol adam nami. It could be anyone. Ela idi ve'idi Rabban Gamliel. Both these braitot are Rabban Gamliel. In one case, Rabban Gamliel says you pray the whole thing. And in another situation, Rabban Gamliel allows you to go against his sidur and pray the shortened version. Why? If you're a specific type of worker. V'la kashya. Kan be'osin mischaran. It depends. Are you getting paid? Are you getting a salary? Are you getting wages? Or kan be'osin b'seudatan? Or are you only eating? There's two types of workers. There's a worker that gets cash. The worker that gets cash, every moment, belongs to your boss. Basically belongs to your boss. So if it belongs to your boss, your Amidah has to be shortened. But there's other types of workers. There's workers that only get to eat. The way I like thinking about this is the guy who gets tips. He's not getting salary. He works in the restaurant. He works in the restaurant and he gets to eat food. He can't take the food home. He could have his breakfast, he could lunch, and he gets some tips from someone. Yeah, cleaning up. There's a big difference between that guy who's working for tips and also the person that's getting paid $20 an hour working in the restaurant. Two people working in the restaurant. One of them is getting schar, one of them is only eating. So the one that's eating, go pray the full Amidah. Because like, how much can the guy eat? The guy's going to eat a breakfast, eat a dinner, and that's it. So, okay, as the boss, you're not even paying him anything. It's okay. It's okay. He's only working for tips. But if you're getting a salary and you're getting paid more, then Rabban Gamliel says, I'm going to say that you have to pray less. So what we're doing is we're distinguishing how it depends on what your pay arrangement is. Depending on what your pay arrangement is, that's how much you're allowed to do for tefillah. Okay? And now what the Gemara is going to say, let's just do one more line for this. V'atanya, we saw a very similar discrepancy or distinguishing between these two types of workers elsewhere. Where is this other braita? What does it say? Hapoalim, you have workers. Shehayu osim melacha etzel balabait, that are working for someone else. You have workers that are laborers working for someone else. Let's see what this one says. Korean kriyat shema, they're allowed to say shema. Umit palalin, and they're allowed to pray. Ve'ochlin pitan, you're allowed to eat. But ready? Watch this. You're allowed to eat. But you don't make a bracha before. Why? Because the bracha before of Hamatzi is rabbinic, as Rashi says. So anything that's rabbinic, you don't do. Shema, you have to say. Tefillah, you have to say. When it comes time to eat, don't make a bracha before, because can someone time me? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hamatzi lechem min haaretz. How long did that take? Yeah, maybe 3 seconds. I think I could even do it faster. I know some people that could do it in half a second. Right? So you could do it that way also. But don't say it. Why? It's only rabbinic. There's no requirement for you to say it. Okay. So this is what this braita is saying. You're allowed to eat. Don't make a bracha before. Afterwards, when you say Berachot Hamazon, you could say it, but you have to do a truncated version of the Berachot Hamazon. Berachot Hamazon has 4 brachot. The first one is Hazan et Hakol, no delachab ala aretz ala Hamazon. Then the next one is Rachem, is the third one, Bonei Yerushalayim, and then there's another Tov HaMitiv. These are the 4 brachot. The last one of Tov HaMitiv is rabbinic. So really the first 3 are from the Torah. But what it's saying here is that you only do 2. The first one, leave it as is. Then the next 2, you combine them, and you make like a very truncated version of the Berachot Hamazon. You have to do it. Why? Because it's from the Torah. But we're going to condense it. Okay? So, Ochlin Pitan. Don't make a bracha before. Avam mevarachin la'achareya shtayim. But you can make a bracha of Berachot Hamazon afterwards. Ketzad. How do you have a Berachot Hamazon of only 2 brachot? Bracha rishona ketikuna. The first bracha is exactly how it is established. Sheniya, the second one, potech b'berkat haaretz. You open up the way you would open you start off the way the second one starts. V'kolelin bonei Yerushalayim, and then you include parts of bonei Yerushalayim b'berkat haaretz. You take parts of the third one, insert them into the second one, and you make an abridged version. Fine. So far, so good. You have this braita that's telling you workers have this arrangement. Bameh devarim amurim. When is it that we're so strict that's saying you don't even make a bracha before? Truncate your bracha mazon afterwards. Why are we being so strict? Look what the braita says. Bameh devarim amurim beosin mischaran. That's if someone is working for wages. They get paid. Aval osin b'seudatan. If it's a situation where they're only working for what they're going to eat, or there's another leniency. Oh, shehaya balabayit mesei yumahen. If the boss was sitting together with them, if he's there and I'm sitting there, implicitly he's okay with me sitting here, because I'm not stealing from him. I'm right in front of him. If he wanted me to get up and go, I'd say, guys, get up and go. But he's sitting there eating with us, so I could take the liberty to say Berkat Hamazon because he sees what's going on. And it seems like when the boss is there, you can assume that he's going to allow you to do this. Because if he had an issue with it, he would tell you. So all of these halachot, what we're saying is where you have to cut it very short. Don't say the bracha before your food. Your Berkat Hamazon, make it short. You do that if you're getting paid wages and you're not in front of your boss. But if you weren't getting paid wages, you're only working for your food, or if the boss is there, you could say Berkat Hamazon in this proper way. Exactly as it's established, you could say it. So what you see from here is, once again, you distinguish between someone who gets paid wages or someone who's getting paid just for what they eat. Like I said, like a guy who works in a restaurant, one of them say, I'm not going to pay you, but you get to eat whatever you want. And the other one says, no, I'm going to pay you money. So the expectations from these two types of workers is very different. Okay, questions? Yes.
That same apply for the slaves?
Okay, so none of this is the same halachot as slaves. An Eved Ivri, I assume is what you're asking about, has all other sorts of halachot. Now, but you're not paying him. And every degree, you don't pay him anything. You give him a place to sleep, you give him food to eat.
Food, like, doesn't mean he could be like lax, and because he is still like every degree though. So
Yes, he was be obligated, and every degree is obligated in all of the mitzvot.
yeah.
He's obligated to do all of the mitzvot. It's a good question. Here, this context is not talking about that. It's talking about someone who works. It's not owned by someone, but it's working for someone. That's a good question. Yes.
Of the brachot being the Rabbanan, how does this play into the Shema, where there's the opinions that after only the first pasuk is the right of the rest of the Rabbanan, so would the workers not be able to say the rest of the Shema and just say the first pasuk?
Oh, okay. Excellent question. Very good. So on the Braita that says if you're working, you don't need to say the bracha before because it's rabbinic. So according to him, what about the Shema Yisrael? Why would he say you could say the Shema Yisrael up there? Maybe he's rabbinic, don't even say it. So we saw part of this answer when we quoted Bet Shammai. Sorry, Bet Hillel. What did we say? Kana perek rishon, kana perek sheni. What does that mean? For the part that is minimum amount required to fulfill your Torah obligation, you have to stop working. From up there, focus and say Shema. But after that, as Bet Hillel tells us, osin b'mlachtan v'korin. You continue working. So you're saying the Shema while you continue working. And the idea is that I could continue saying this because it's only rabbinic at this point. Yeah.
I can say Hamotzi while working.
Yeah. Why can't you say Hamotzi while they're working? Did you hear anything about this question? Okay, so I have an idea. So tell me, what's the difference between Shema, where we say, okay, the paragraph of Vayomer, say while you're picking your figs, but Hamotzi, Bracha Hamotzi, we're saying No, don't do it while you're picking your figs. Just don't do it at all. What's the difference?
So to get a caution.
Yeah, okay, so it could be, we're not even talking, we're not even.
It's me having a drink.
Okay, let's say we're talking about a drink. So let's say you're not hamotzi. Let's say you're talking about you're having a cookie. Right? So you don't have to, because it's a good question about Netilat Yadayim, where we're not even getting into that. It's an excellent question. But let's say you don't have that. Okay, so what's the issue? The issue there here is as follows. You're not required to say the bracha, it's only a rabbinic. So what do you gain by saying it without concentrating? If you're saying the Shema Yisrael, you're saying Pesukim. You're not saying Shem Hashem Levatala, because you're saying Pesukim from the Torah. Whereas if I say a bracha that I'm not required to say, and I don't have the proper intention, then it could very well be that it ends up being a Levatala, or it's there's something negative with it. Saying a bracha that I don't need to say,
Hashem's name when you don't need to say it.
saying Hashem's name when you don't need to say it, specifically with a bracha, is problematic. Saying it for Pesukim is okay, but saying it in a bracha is problematic. Actually, this is a very important halacha l'maaseh. I want to share one thing, just because we're already thinking about Rosh Hashanah. When is Rosh Hashanah? 3 weeks? 3 weeks. Look at that. So one of the common practices, Rav Yosef has a teshuvah and Yechavedat about this. One of the common practices on Rosh Hashanah is the Chazan says parts of the Amidah, and he says it, and then everyone repeats it with him. You know what I'm talking about? Like toward the ends of each paragraph. Okay. So everyone says mashallah, or things like that. Hashem yagen aleinu. So everyone says it. Okay. So Rav Yosef asked this question of what happens if that phrase that everyone is saying has the name of Hashem in it? Am I allowed to say it? I'm not the Chazan. I already prayed my Amidah. I don't need to repeat the Amidah. So I want to say words, fine. But what do I have to say the name of Hashem? So there is I wish I knew it, but there's one of them that the last word of that the last word of the paragraph is the name of Hashem. Are you allowed to? Rav Yosef says yes. You're allowed to say, why? Because you're saying Pesukim as part of the prayers. You're allowed to say the name of Hashem, even if it's a partial pasuk. Even if I quote a partial pasuk, I'm allowed to say the name of Hashem, but not in the bracha. You shouldn't say Baruch Atah Hashem. You shouldn't say the name of Hashem in the text of a bracha. And this is what Rav Yosef says in his teshuvah. If I'm learning the Gemara and I'm quoting a pasuk, can I say the name of Hashem? The answer is yes. If I'm right now, I'm going to say Shema Yisrael. Do I have to say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad? No, I can say Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. I'm saying the name of God. I'm allowed to. Why? Because it's the context of learning. But to say a bracha, you shouldn't say it. I shouldn't right now say I'm going to make a bracha of Shakol, which is Baruch Atah, and then actually say it. No, don't use the verbiage of a bracha unless you actually need it. But when you're quoting a pasuk, you're allowed to. So I think this could be very much related. When you're entering into the world of a bracha, especially if you're not required. So by saying it when you're not required, don't think like you're gaining. You actually could be doing. You're saying taking Hashem's name for no reason. For a pasuk, it's not for no reason. Wherever my name is mentioned, Hashem says, "I give you a blessing." That's in the context of studying Torah. Okay, good. I have no idea how we got here. How did we get here? You asked the question. I have to backtrack. Okay, so we're good with the Gemara. Okay, now let's just talk about a minute or two about business ethics. Okay, so what happens? You work for someone. If you work for yourself, there's one thing I'm going to say. And if you work for someone else, something else I want to say, okay? Okay, let's start with if you work for someone else. If you work for someone else, clearly you see Chachamim cared about being honest and about not taking advantage and stealing, right? Because they said, you know what? Don't even pray the full Amidah. Or they said, don't say a bracha of Birkat HaMazon. Only say a shortened version of it. Or they said, you're not allowed to be chazan. What are you being chazan? Well, you have no business being chazan. You have to work. Okay? And he says, what are you talking about? I should be praying first thing in the morning. I shouldn't be thinking about working. Yes, you shouldn't. But once you agree to do it and you're getting paid to do it, don't think that you're being religious by going and taking on longer Amidah. You have a responsibility to someone else, and don't steal. Okay, so now you have this business ethics question of, okay, I work somewhere. Can I take a personal phone call? Can I surf the web? Can I don't know, say Berachot Hamazon? Can I do these things can I run a side business, a side gig from my office while I'm getting paid for working for someone else? I think the main question, really, I think the main answer is you should have a conversation with your boss and ask him what is acceptable, what is okay. I would argue that most people will say to take a personal phone call here or there is fine. And to respond to a text message here or there is fine. Even to surf a little bit here or there once in a while is fine. Running a whole business out of my shop is not okay. Unless we talk about it and I'm okay with it. Printing 6,000 pages of something, printing a bunch of books and using my thing is not okay. Everything else, I don't know. It's probably some gray matters. It's best to clarify. I'm not here to like tell you what you're allowed to do and you're not allowed to do. What I'm here to do is to tell you that the Chachamim cared about this because they felt it was dishonest if you were taking something that you really shouldn't be taking. Yeah.
You know, turned me on to a really good rabbi. His name is Rabbi Benson Schaefer, who has this podcast called The Shmooze.
Schmooze, yeah.
Very good, very wise guy. One of them is called Geneva, he calls it, but stealing. And he brings this exact example of how in his own organization, he runs the Shmooze, it's a not-for-profit. One of the secretaries was taking 15-20 minutes in the middle of the day to pray Shemona Esrei. They said, she doesn't have the right to pray 20 minutes of Shemona Esrei when she's getting paid by people donating to this organization. It's not right.
It's all right.
And he made it very clear that it's stealing from other people when you're praying 20 minutes of Shemona Esrei in the middle of the work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an excellent point. You know, this is Mammon's money coming. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a balance in everything, but yeah. Having
The person asks the employer, and when they get permission, and it's.
Yeah, of course. If he says go ahead, do whatever you want. But this comes up also, let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to have a mincha minyan, and they say you could pray mincha. The boss says, you know what, it's fine. Take whatever it is to pray mincha, but do yela hashi. Don't do chetzi, right? And you say, no, I want to do more. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to. Here we told you. He said you're not allowed to go do Berachot Kohanim. Why? How is that doing Berachot Kohanim? So you see, they didn't want. You're not allowed to stay for the second repetition. Why? You read go. So the Yelahashi is really. If someone on the Zoom doesn't know Yelahashi means, it's interesting praying one, doing Amidah once and not doing it twice. Yes, question.
So like
Again, the boss could say you could do whatever he wants. He's the owner, right? So I do want to talk about the boss in a second. Yeah.
Sort of about the boss on the flip side. Like, let's say Jews are working for another Jew, there's no like halachot, like saying if you have a Jew working for you, you have like a view to say like, okay, let them pray, let them say brachot, let them say Berachot Hamazon.
Yeah.
Maybe not above and beyond, but like,
Yeah.
at least let them perform mitzvot. Like, there's no issue with saying, oh, you work for me and I pay you, so you can't serve Hashem.
Yeah, so this is exactly what our Mishnah are talking about. Let me ask you, when our Mishnah says that the worker is allowed to say Shema with the brachot and the Amidah, is the Mishnah talking about someone who says you're not allowed to do any of that? No, we're not talking to that guy. What we're talking about is setting these guidelines. I'm a boss. I want to know what is fair, what is the minimum that I should give my workers to do. This Mishnah is telling us, here's the minimum. Here's what you're required to give them, right? You have to give them something. What it's outlining as to be what the minimum is. That's what the boss is required to give them. Is the boss required to give more? No. Can the boss give less? No. This is not telling you that if the boss says that if you don't do this, I'm going to fire you, how you could go back to him and says, but the Braita, Masechah Berachot says this. But this is, it's not someone who doesn't care, right? My point is that yes, these Braitot are speaking to the boss just as much as it's speaking to the worker, because it's telling the boss what is the minimum amount that you're required to give to them, and it's telling the worker what is the maximum amount that you're allowed to do that's fair, and that you're not taking advantage. And it's establishing the norms. You shouldn't be doing all of Amidah, all of the Pesukei de Zimra. You shouldn't be doing Birkat Kohanim. You should be go do your thing and move on. This idea, don't be Chazan. Don't be Chazan. No, I get here late. Why? Because I have to be Chazan. Don't. Do your thing and move on. Okay? Now, I do want to talk about the owner from the other side, though. Because we said that if you're a worker, you could pray, you could say Shema from the top of there. You can't pray Amidah from the tree, unless it's an olive tree or it's a fig tree. But if you're the Balabait, you got to come down. What does that mean? That means if you're the owner and you're not getting paid to do this, you shouldn't be taking shortcuts. Now, you might say there's more stress on the owner, no? This guy's going to get his salary no matter what. Who's in a harder position? The boss or the worker? The worker's getting his money. There's no risk. I'm the one taking the risk. I'm the one that I have to. If I don't get my money, then these guys are going to get fired. They're not going to have their money either. So if he shouldn't be doing it, I shouldn't be doing it either. I need to work to make sure that they can keep me working, right? The answer is you have to have a little of emunah in Hashem as well. If someone is paying you for your time, this isn't an emunah question. This isn't something of, do I place your trust in God? This is a matter of, hey, someone is paying you for your time. Don't steal from him. You have to be honest. You have to do what's just. But if no one is paying you for this time and you're working, so you're going to say, I can't pray, I can't say Shema because I need to work. You have to have emunah in Hashem. You have to have emunah in Hashem, which is something that's very important. We put in our effort, we put in our hard work, we put in our energy, we do everything, but we know that Hashem is on top of it. I think in math, I've said this before, and it's a way I like to think about it, is that in any formula, if you have two multiplicants, which means you have a formula that's x times y, okay? The answer is going to be whatever is this times that. The x is the work and effort that I put in. The y is the bracha that Hashem gives me, which means I could put in 1,000,000 efforts, and Hashem could just do times 0. And what's the answer? 0. I could put 1 effort. My x equals just 1, and Hashem could do times 1,000,000. And what happens? I get 1,000,000. Or Hashem could also do times negative 1,000,000. And now, the more effort I put in, the worse things end up. Hashem can multiply his part. I could control my part, but I also know and believe that the formula is not equal to x. It's equal to x times y. And I need to believe in Hashem, and I need to pray to Hashem, and I need to understand that this is coming from him. I have to do everything honestly. I have to do nasata v'natata be'emunah, to be honest in my business, to be honest and not to take from someone else. And I have to place my trust in Hashem together with doing the hard work. So this is, I think it's an important idea here, because the same way how the worker shouldn't be taking advantage, the boss, the Mishnah says, don't take these shortcuts, because why are you taking these shortcuts? Okay? Question? You had a question? Yes, Richard?
How do we go from having to cutting out repetition?
No, so we okay. No, those two are not the same thing. The source of cutting out the repetition of mincha is not because of this braita. It's more. I was just giving as an example, but it is like common practice that in the offices, when you ask Rabbi Chaim in the offices, he says just do it once. Why? Because you want to say nagdishach. You do nagdishach, you do it one time. But to answer your question, doing the one mincha is not learned out from this Gemara. It's not learned out from here. It's discussions elsewhere. Tomer, yes, question?
Would there be an instance where the boss can continue working instead of stopping his workers or him? Like maybe if there's gonna be like a drought or like something, or like we've been losing a lot, like in his business.
I don't think so. Look, I think now we're stepping into like a hypothetical question that I'm not sure I understand the details. If there are times that a person is allowed to work on, let's say, Chol HaMoed, and there's times he's not allowed to work on Chol HaMoed. There's Gemarot about that. Well, it depends how much of a loss is going to be versus how much you're trying to gain. There's times where a person is allowed to work on, I don't know, on Purim or on Tisha B'Av. There's discussions of this stuff. So I think to answer your question, I think I would need more details. But all else equal, there's a difference between being the boss and being a paid worker, where being the paid worker, you can do, your maximum is the minimum. Your maximum of what you can do, of what you should do, is the minimum of what you can do. Those two are the same. Do what you're supposed to do, nothing more, nothing less. Whereas if you're the boss, no, you have to do a little bit more. You have to say the full Birkat Hamazon. Don't take the minimum. You have to come down from the tree. Don't stay up there, even though he can. Now, are there other circumstances? Maybe, but I think every case needs to be judged by itself. Okay, any other questions? Okay, Be'ezrat Hashem Yeh Ratzon, may Hashem bless us all that with our all we do is we put in the one, and Hashem will times us by 1,000, million, gazillion, that our little one will go and give us a lot of the bracha, so we could just sit and study and learn Torah. It would be a dream. If we all become wealthy and we do shiur all day, would you guys do it? You guys down? So yeah, Hashem Yeh Ratzon, Be'ezrat Hashem. I mean, bli neder. You have to say bli neder. Because no, but Be'ezrat Hashem. I'm only kidding. But Yeh Ratzon, we know that our parnasah is in the hands of Hashem. This is what Chachamim tell us, that that every year on Rosh Hashanah, from the times of Tishrei, Ribono Shel Olam is already deciding what's the maximum amount of parnasah the person can make this year, except for certain things like how much money the person spends on Shabbat. That's not coming out of your budget, or how much money you're spending on Torah. That money's not coming out of your budget. But otherwise, Hashem already decided what it is. You can lose it, but you're not going to be able to get more. Whatever you're going to get, you're going to get. You have to put in your work, because if not, you're going to lose it, but you can't get more. So you have to have emunah in Hashem. You do your part, place your trust in Hashem, and Yeh Ratzon Be'ezrat Hashem, may Hashem bless us all with a year of parnasah and health to be able to enjoy that parnasah. Hazak Baruch.
Amen. Chazak Baruch.